Have you ever felt like your body is a bit of a mystery? Like a crime scene where you have a symptom that's the obvious evidence, but the real culprit is just nowhere to be found? Well, today we're going to put on our detective hats and figure out exactly why this happens and how you can start to solve these mysteries yourself.
I mean, it's a story we all know, right? You've got an issue. Maybe it's that shoulder pain that just won't quit, or a back that decides to flare up at the worst possible moments. You treat it, it feels better for a bit, and then bam, it's back. So why? What if the real problem is that we're aiming at the wrong target entirely?
This really gets to the heart of the matter. As one of our sources says, one thing affects the next thing, affects the next thing. Sometimes you find the problem down the road. This idea is so crucial because it reminds us that the body isn't just a bunch of separate parts in a box. It's this deeply interconnected web, where something like an old ankle injury can literally create a chain reaction that, years later, shows up as a problem somewhere totally different.
Okay, so let's dive into our first section, a painful puzzle. The biggest trap in this whole puzzle is that we get so focused on treating the symptom, we completely miss the source. Just think about this for a second. This one shift in perspective can change everything. That spot that hurts, it might not be the source of the fire. It might just be the fire alarm, frantically trying to tell you that there's a problem that started somewhere else in the building. So, how do we find these hidden culprits? Well, every good detective needs a tool to interrogate the body and get the truth. And that brings us to Section 2, the body's lie detector. The tool we're talking about is called manual muscle testing.
Now, this technique isn't about how much weight you can lift or how strong you are in the gym. This is way more subtle. Think of it as a functional neurological test. We're essentially using your muscles like a computer monitor to get direct feedback from your body's main operating system, the nervous system.
And that's the absolute key difference. The test isn't asking, is this muscle torn? It's asking, can the nervous system send a clear, strong signal to this muscle right now? When we introduce some kind of stressor, and that could be anything, structural, chemical, even emotional, can the nervous system hold that connection strong? Or does the signal go fuzzy?
And this gives us our first big clue in the investigation. When a muscle tests weak or inhibited, it's not because the muscle itself failed. Nope, it's an error message. It's your nervous system flagging a problem somewhere in your body. This is our breadcrumb trail. This is where the detective work really begins.
So we've found that first error message. Now we can get into Section 3, chasing neurological clues. It's time to follow that breadcrumb trail and see where it leads.
One of the coolest techniques is something called therapy localization. It's so simple, the person just touches a part of their own body, maybe an old scar, or a spot over an organ, or the place they sprained their ankle as a kid. And here's the magic. If touching that spot suddenly makes that weak muscle test strong again, boom! We've just found a massive lead. The body is literally pointing and saying, hey, this spot you're touching, yeah, this is part of the problem.
And the clues can get even weirder and more subtle than that. Sometimes just having the person look in a certain direction can completely change the muscle test. Why? Because our eye movements are so deeply wired into our brain, especially the part that coordinates movement, the cerebellum. Looking in the direction of a past injury or fall can actually bring that old disruptive neurological pattern back online for a moment, giving us another clue. The investigation can even go deeper, into your body's chemistry. A detective might have you taste a tiny bit of something, like sugar, or maybe sniff a substance, to see how your nervous system reacts. A weak response can point us toward a hidden nutritional need, some kind of toxic stress, or maybe an imbalance in your digestion.
So, after chasing all these wild clues, what kind of culprits do we find? Well, this is where it gets really interesting. Welcome to Section 4, the surprising suspects. And trust me, they're almost never who you'd think.
What this all means is that your nagging shoulder pain might have absolutely nothing to do with your shoulder. The real root cause could be that ankle you sprained 20 years ago that set up a weird compensation pattern. It could be a food sensitivity that's stressing out your gut, a lack of B vitamins, a hidden emotional stress loop, or even a tiny misalignment in your spine that's distorting nerve signals. The symptom you feel is just the very last domino to fall in a long, long line. All right, so once the real culprit has been unmasked, the solution can be incredibly direct and powerful. And that brings us to our final section. Section 5, Cracking the Code.
Let's look at a real-life case from the source material to see how this works. There was a patient with a classic frozen shoulder. She was in a lot of pain and could barely move her arm. And for 7 months, she tried everything you can think of. Physical therapy, massage, you name it. Nothing was working. Any improvement she got was tiny and gone by the next day.
So, the detective work began, and using muscle testing, the practitioner found that the problem wasn't in her shoulder at all. The neurological glitch was actually connected to her brain, her cerebellum, and the clue that unlocked it was having her look in a specific direction. So what was the fix? Some complicated surgery? Nope. A simple neurological exercise. She just had to imagine floating in that one direction for a couple of minutes. And the result? After 7 months of being stuck, she got full, completely pain-free range of motion back. Just like that.
And you see these kinds of surprising connections all the time. That chronic shoulder pain could be coming from an old knee injury, and the fix might be as simple as tapping a specific point to reset that neurological circuit. Recurring back pain? It could be referred from an imbalance in your gut, and the solution is rubbing a specific reflex point to help it out. That frustrating brain fog? It might just be an immune reaction to a food you're sensitive to, and all you need to do is identify and address that nutritional stress.
See, when you get right down to it, this whole approach is about a massive shift in how we think. It's not about chasing pain or just trying to shut off the alarm bell. It's about being a detective, following the clues your own body is giving you, and solving the underlying mystery so you can restore balance to the whole system. So, the next time you have one of those symptoms that just won't go away, maybe ask yourself a different question. Don't just ask how to make it stop. Ask what hidden clues might I be overlooking? What is my body really trying to tell me?